Hi guys, so before I get started, I did want to turn this video into animated short type thing where I would create the things and put it up as an animation type thing. However, unfortunately I didn't get the time, or I don't have the skills in order to do that, so I've kind of got a script here and I'm gonna read it to you. As you saw by the title, it is what if One Piece characters had stands instead of devil fruits. So let's get started. We start off with Luffy pricking his finger on a stand arrow that Shanks left lying around, which he got instead of obviously finding the Gum Gum fruit. Then the bandits come in and Luffy tries to stand up to them, and as we all know, Higuma gets eaten by the sea beast, and Luffy is left on half a boat, and then Shanks comes in and saves Luffy, but the sea beast is still there and he aims for Shanks, but then Luffy spots a weird person attacking the sea beast. In this story, Shanks doesn't lose his arm. It jumps towards the beast and it makes it swim away. Shanks then leaves Luffy with his iconic straw hat and tells him to become a strong pirate. Luffy sets sail and heads to Shell's Town where he meets Zoro. They take care of Axe Hand Morgan. Zoro tells Luffy when he was a child training to be the world's greatest swordsman, which is still his dream by the way, which gave him he got cut by a weird stand arrow, which gave him his stand, Silver Chariot. Luffy then lets out Star Platinum and says he has one too, and if Zoro would like to join his crew. Then they set off to Orange Town where they meet Nami. They find out that Nami has a weather-related stand and they use their stands to beat up Buggy. Nami, Luffy and Zoro leave and head towards Syrup Village, where they meet Usopp, who tells them how he lost his mother but gained power in his stand, the Hand. I'm kind of jumping, kind of copying JoJo's a bit, giving the weak Straw Hat the strong stand, because I think it's funny and the personality kind of does suit him a little bit. Then they face off against Kuro and win, gaining a new friend and a new boat gifted to them by Kaya and Mary, which follows the same storyline as One Piece. Luffy then says that they should stop off for food, and which brings the gang to Baratie, and they are waited on by Sanji, who used to be a cook but was demoted to waiter by Zeph. The Krieg pirates enter, trying to get a free meal. Luffy notices this and they fight, and Luffy defeats Krieg. There we go. Mihawk is then informed of this and heads over to Baratie. Zoro notices him and challenges him to a sword fight, which he loses and swears to Luffy to become stronger. Sanji sees this and is told by Zeph to follow his dreams to find the All Blue. Sanji's stand in this case is Magician's Red, but we'll get to that a bit later. Sanji joins the Straw Hats. After leaving Baratie, the crew realize Nami is missing and they head to Arlong Park to figure out what's going on. We then learn how Arlong took over Kokoyashi Village and forced Nami to help him steal money to pay for the freedom of her village. We also learn that Arlong stabbed Nami with her stand arrow, giving her the power of Weather Report. The stand name, not the user, because It's confusing. Weather Report is his name. He never realized anything. What's going on? Okay, I'm going on a tangent. Sorry, but again, I mean the stand of Weather Report, not Weather Report himself. Uh, and Arlong stabbed himself, gaining the stand Sea Moon. Nami then asked for help from the Straw Hats after she found out what Arlong was actually going to do. Before going to fight Arlong, Luffy places his straw hat on Nami and walks toward Arlong's base, like the really popular scene. Arlong reveals his stand, Sea Moon, and Luffy reveals Star Platinum, and they have a stand battle with Luffy coming out on top as the victor. And shall we say, Arlong's base also falls down, even though he didn't use his stretchy powers. He just, let's say, he punched the walls a bunch of times. Nami officially becomes the navigator of the Straw Hat Pirates. They head to Logtown for supplies, and the story kind of plays out the same up until Drum Island. After arriving at Drum Island to find Nami a doctor because she had gotten ill, Luffy, Sanji and Nami head up to talk to Dr. Kureha to see if she can help Nami. After almost freezing to death, they are saved by a weird creature. Tony Chopper? They are then fixed up by Chopper and his stand, Crazy Diamond. Afterwards, they are told about Chopper's backstory, where he was taught by Dr. Hirolek in medicine, healing, and how when he was a young reindeer, he was pricked by an arrow. The group is then told that Wapol is on his way. They then beat up Wapol and ask Chopper to join the crew, which he agrees to. Vivi reveals herself to the crew and they head to Alabasta to help her country out. On their way, they meet Ace. Obviously, I only put this in because it's later on when they're in Marineford. Yeah. The Straw Hats take on the members of Baroque whilst Luffy goes up to fight Crocodile and Missile Sunday. Crocodile uses his stand Red Hot Chili Pepper to try and defeat Luffy. Crocodile thinks he has successfully taken care of Luffy, but Luffy then uses his skills to defeat him. Vivi and King Cobra take back the kingdom and thank Luffy and his crew for their hard work. The crew then set sail, then they realize they had a tag-along, Nico Robin. The story kind of continues the same up to Jaya. So, like, they meet Foxy and blah, 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 all that. And then, once they get to Jaya, they bump into Blackbeard. And he reveals his stand, Zawoldo. I gave Blackbeard the stand, the world, because, obviously he's meant to be like a polar opposite to Luffy. So obviously Dio and Jotaro are polar opposites. Yeah, and obviously I know we haven't gotten too far in the future of the we're just in Elbaf now. We haven't like fully ended it, or like if Blackbeard is gonna even fight Luffy. This is just my opinion. The crew then head to Sky Island and take care of Enel. I'll tell you this now. I decided Enel shouldn't have a stand because the story was getting a bit too long, and I thought if he had a stand, and he'd go like that, and then it would like get the story a bit longer. Yeah. But on their way down, the Going Merry gets destroyed. Well, not fully destroyed, but injured type thing. A little, so they head towards Water 7. Luffy and Usopp get into a stand battle, which Luffy wins. Usopp leaves the crew. Robin gets taken away by CP, I want to say 9 or 0, because CP0 is Egghead. Dang it. You can roast me for that all you want in the comments. They then head over and take Franky as well. The crew take on the members of CP9. Luffy takes on Lucci, who reveals his stand as Scary Monsters. Scary Monsters, I thought, worked out really well because obviously Rob Lucci's devil fruit turned him into a leopard, and Scary Monsters turns Diego into a dinosaur. So I thought, why not? Okay, Rob Lucci and Luffy fight head to head using both fists and stand. Luffy wins and the crew rescues Robin. I'd like to say, obviously, because no stand has gears, we'll get into Gear 5 later, but that's Wano, and it's much later, and it's more interesting in this. But there is no gear 2, there is no gear 3, 4, Snake Man, Bounce Man, all of that is gone. This is just Star Platinum being the strongest he can be. Franky then reveals to them the Thousand Sunny and his stand, Tusk Act 2. Franky then joins the crew and they head off towards Thriller Bark. They meet Brook, defeat Gecko Moria and his stand, Death 13. I decided Gecko Moria should have a death-related stand because A, it's really kind of like spooky in Thriller Bark, and B, Gecko Moria originally he used shadows to create things, and it may not connect that well, but death and shadows kind of like go hand in hand. And as for shadows, I said gaining everyone's shadows back. The story carries on the same, with them meeting Rayleigh at Sabaody, the Straw Hats getting split up, Ace's rescue, the 2-year 3-day time skip, Fishman Island, and Punk Hazard. Now, this was kind of rushed because A, I didn't give Ace a stand, so I was like, okay, maybe this isn't really the right sort of thing for him. And B, like I said before, the story for, in my opinion, was getting a bit too long. And obviously, yes, no, they still meet Jinbei. They still rescue the people from the prison, Impel Down. And yeah, we then get into the Dressrosa arc with Law telling Luffy and the Straw Hats about Doflamingo and how he's selling stand arrows for the Battle Coliseum. So this bit, I was like, okay, so in the original, where Doflamingo sold Ace's devil fruit. However, I can do that. So I thought, what would someone do if they were really clever and they can give people a devil fruit? So I was like, okay, Doflamingo is really crazy. So why not have him sell stand arrows so that Sabo can end up getting the stand Ace would have definitely... Okay, now I've confused myself. Okay, never mind. Let's continue. The Colosseum stays the same. Sabo takes the stand arrow back to Dragon. Dragon's gonna then investigate it. Obviously, in my mind, I said, okay, Sabo didn't prick his finger on it. However, he did collect the arrow so that his boss, Dragon, could, what's it called? Analyze it. Doflamingo battles Law and Luffy. He uses Killer Queen. Another crazy one. That's why I wanted. But Luffy defeats him with Star Platinum. Just like Diamond is Unbreakable. Just kidding. He what's his name? Yoshikage Kira actually gets hit by a ambulance. The Zou arc goes the same, like everyone gets split up. Sanji gets taken to Big Mom so that they can have their whole wedding, and then Luffy takes Nami, Brook, and Chopper to go save Sanji. And then when they get there, Jinbei is there, and he rejects Big Mom's request, even though she said that if he ignored her, it would go straight to death. Luffy fights Katakuri with his stand Golden Experience. Now, this one, I've got to say, I kind of like made up kind of on the spot, because obviously I realized Luffy didn't actually battle Big Mom when I got to this part. I was like, okay, oh gosh, he battles Katakuri, and now I was like, what do I need? I need an extra bit. Katakuri has, okay. So I kind of gave him an even match, because obviously they both come out alive, and they are evenly matched, even though in the story, Katakuri has future vision. Whilst Brook uses his stand to sneak around Big Mom to be able to get her poneglyph. After collecting Sanji, they head over to Wano, whilst Jinbei says he will meet up with them later. And this is the Wano arc. So this is the second to last bit. I just want to say I'm not including Elbaf, because obviously it's still happening at this moment with Oda, but on Netflix and Crunchyroll they've only got up to like the first 20 episodes, so I'm just going up to Egghead. After Egghead, I mean, like before Elbaf, but at the end of Egghead. There we go. The Wano arc starts the same, but instead of Luffy improving his gears, which is what I was saying about how he has gears in his devil fruit, Hyuguro teaches Luffy about the Requiem arrow, which is, this is a complete fake out, because obviously, as we all know as JoJo fans, Star Platinum does not have a Requiem. However, I wanted to have something that is as big as Gear 5. And yes, I know Golden Experience Requiem did happen, but I thought it would be easier for Luffy to have Star Platinum. Anyway, continuing on. Kaido and Luffy plays out the same with a stand battle after Kaido has knocked After Kaido has knocked out Luffy, Luffy pulls out the Requiem arrow, stabs himself, and reveals Star Platinum Requiem, which Luffy uses to defeat Kaido. And this is like the big Gear 5 fight. So like instead of Gear 5, it is Star Platinum Requiem. Here we go. Kid, Law, and Luffy still go their separate ways. Egghead goes the same with the use of Requiem Star Platinum. However, I would say that he does still have to, like, after he finishes, he goes back to normal, and Star Platinum goes back to normal. And then when he fights in Egghead Gear 5, he has to prick himself again in order for it to do that, because... Hold on. No, so... Okay, I just thought about Golden Wind. Polnareff Stand never went back to normal. Okay, but anyway, this is the final sentence I'm going to leave you with. This is what I believe would happen if people in the One Piece world had stands instead of devil fruits. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry this can be like a full-on picture video type thing. However, I do want to try and work on this sort of thing some more. I've got another one coming out at the end of this month, which will probably end up being the same, me sitting here and talking to you. However, yeah, if you enjoy this sort of thing, leave a subscribe and also leave a like. And let's see what happens.